showing up The first short track race of the season finally takes in the spotlight where many questions, concerns, and speculations fit within a 3/4 mile distance nearing the end of the season's first half. Live from the virtual Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia, we welcome you to the 7th race of Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series and our continuing coverage into 2023 on MaxSpeedTV. So happy that you're with us on another Wednesday night. We continue our routes through this series season where up atop the broadcast booth here in Richmond Raceway, my name is Kenneth Bueno, and this tonight proves to be the first proper short track test of the field. We've seen many different tracks on the schedule thus far, but we've never seen a track this small this late into the regular season. It took us 4 races last season to find this track, and it took us 2 to have a short track. Tonight we tick off both of those check marks right here, right now, in race number 7. We've seen a lot of drama ensue over this season, multiple different winners, and tonight we may see a brand new one based on the trends we've seen at this very short track, which should be a big challenge for a lot of the drivers in tonight's field. Before we, though, get into the details of tonight's race from Richmond Raceway under the lights here in virtual Virginia, we do have to take a look in our rearview mirror and look at the absolute drama that was last week's race at Road America and America's National Park of Speed. Took the green flag, Austin Reedy, one of the drivers up front, along with Lance Hill, the defending winner of this race. And it proved to be a very difficult race for a lot of the drivers and many series veterans in the field. Mistakes proved to be pivotal. If you made them, chances are you were going to fall back through the field. Here was one of them in the opening stage of the race. This was Tristan Bailey, the number 24 machine, getting all sideways in the grass. And the grass really shook up a lot of the competitors in that race, most notably the drivers at the very front. Here's another look at Curtis Kelly, this one getting into Kevin D'Elia at the exit of the kink. And only just the first of many troubles that we've seen from drivers in the field at Road America. It was very tough to get around the track. Here was another look at Kevin D'Elia's hit with Curtis Kelly. It gave him totaling damage, and he was sent out of the race early. Austin Reedy in the 96, though, very quick to start, although it didn't really work out for him in the later stages. Your pole sitter Lance Hill would then find trouble exiting the carousel, and then came right before our halfway mark caution at lap number 18. That was the 96 of Austin Reedy coming in, then the pair of DBR drivers, Joe Sanchez, Lawson Peel, and then came Daniel Michel, who stayed out for a couple more laps just before we got that break, and then the restart ensued with under 15 laps to go. Austin Reedy quick to the gates, back to turn 1. It was a very calm restart, although we did expect a lot of chaos in the first couple of turns. A lot of the drivers kept it clean. Austin Reedy was able to hold out the front, but then strategy really played a factor into the race. A lot of pit road strategy to see who would come in first. Austin Reedy was one of them in the race lead. It would hand the lead over to Lawson Peel in the 12 car. There's a look at the 96 going in. This is a look at the 12 inside the final 10 laps of the race. And then while Austin Reedy was trying to catch a race leader, got a bit of the grass at the exit of the carousel, and mistakes also befell with the driver that was so quick in that race 1 week ago, still searching for that first win in Season 5. And then came the theatrics of the final lap. Entering turn 5 down the hill, the 12 of Lawson Peel, with more than a 15-second lead, goes sideways, goes for a spin, is able to hold on to the lead with a rapid Daniel Michel quickly approaching at the exit of the corner, and then coming back up the hill underneath the Corvette bridge. Lawson Peel will make another pivotal mistake as the 25 comes across the corner, the 12 comes off of the track, and it allowed Daniel Michel to run away. There was another look at it, a proper look at the 12 going sideways off into the grass, and Daniel Michel, the Los Angeles, California native, able to grab his first ever 4 Wide Racing Cup Series victory. It again proves the fact that road courses never disappoint in this series, and as we step into our first proper short track race of the season, we may see some drama ensue as a result. Drivers are headed for the starting grid right behind the iRacing official pace car. It means it is our time to take a look at your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight from Richmond Raceway. Lawson Peel, fresh off of the heartbreaking loss at Road America, is looking to make amends here from Richmond. He lines it up with a 22.283, the fastest out of anyone in qualifying, but not by much. 2 1,000ths of a second separate him and the driver starting alongside him in P number 2, Kyle Benson, in the 10 machine. Row number 2 features Eric Schaefer, multi-time winner in last season's edition of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, still looking for win number 1 here from Richmond. And in season 5, Craig Lautenslager, the driver with the most laps, led last time we were at this very track, looking to get a win as well. That's row number 2. Row number 3, you'll find Joe Sanchez lining up the inside of the top 5, and defending winner of this race from last season, AJ Green, who got the win over his teammate Colin Forrester in a green-white checkered finish. He will start in P6. Brandon Banks for Drinkin' Bros Racing lines up the top 7. Colin Forrester in the 99 will roll off just alongside him in P8 before you find the 2 drivers doubled up in row number 5 in the exit of the top 10. Curtis Kelly in the 71 and Austin Reedy in the 96. Adam Alishire in the 91 rolls off 11th. You'll have Christopher Bishop to join alongside him in P12, row number 6. Jaden Porter in the 28 is 13th for tonight's race. Daniel Michel fresh off of the win at America's National Park of Speed 1 week ago. He's inside the top 14, row number 7. League owner Tyler Murray in the 16 rolls off inside the top 15. Brady Cox will be alongside in 16. Kevin D'Elia, Tyler Warner, the 2 to double up in row number 9 for 18th. Lance Hill and Tony Kibbett, the 2 drivers to round out your top 20. Kibbett the first out of many near the rear of the field not to elect for a qualifying time. Michael Newbraw is in 21st. CJ Munier will hold up 22nd. Alex Schumacher making his very first 4-Wide Racing Cup Series race. We wish him the best of luck. And Dominic Bettini in the number 02 rounds out the top 24. Brandon Gillis in the 9 car is the last one in our 25 car field from Richmond Raceway. Ready to set these cars off for turn 1 for the first time in Richmond, a staple of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. And we've seen a lot of races at this track, but the challenge remains the same. This track, a 3/4 mile venue in the middle of Richmond, Virginia, Henrico County to be specific. 1.21 kilometers. It opened back in 1946, one of the oldest tracks on the NASCAR calendar. You find 14 degrees of banking in turns 1 through 4, and then you find 8 degrees of banking in the main tri-oval front straightaway, and 2 degrees on the back straightaway. One thing you also know about Richmond Raceway, that start-finish line isn't directly in the center of the front stretch. It's a little closer to turn 4 than it is turn 1. So you may look for the exit of turn 4 if you're in a last lap scenario where you have to make a pass. We've seen that happen multiple times in this series and even on the ARCA side in 4-wide competition. So who knows what may happen here in Henrico County. Pace car makes that vivid left to pit road. It'll be the 12 of Lawson Peel and the 10 of Kyle Benson through the restart zone and to the green flag. We're racing in race number 7 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series in Season 5 from Richmond. Shaky start through the mid-pack, but for the most part, everybody keeps it clean, and Kyle Benson immediately trying to take charge on Lawson Peel for the lead. He'll take the inside at the exit of turn 2. Peel washes up, and already lap number 2, we have a battle for the race lead. Here comes Benson to the inside. He'll hold up the bottom on that yellow line. The 12 will give way, and caution flag will come out. 2-car incident. Brady Cox and Christopher Bishop, the 42 and the 78, involved in our first scuffle. Entrance, turn 3, caution out for the first time. See what happened, a very clean opening lap. This is a look at the 42 and looked like outside 3 wide. That's Tyler Murray on the inside. But just looked like the 78 of Cox got loose and couldn't control it and swiped into the 42. And there was nothing Bishop could do, both of them coming for an exact halt just before the entrance of turn 3. Here's another look at it, this time from Brady Cox's perspective, and we'll talk about that, at least this mistake over the course of tonight's race. That 14 degrees of banking transitions into 2 very quickly. There's a little bit of a dip at the exit of that corner. Going on to the back straightaway, you can easily get that car sideways, and on cold tires, it doesn't help your case. So Brady Cox around early, a little bit of damage to that right front, and same goes on the left front for the 42 of Christopher Bishop. It looks like both of them are going to take it down pit road. This should be damage that won't necessarily take them out of the race. I don't think it'll warrant a fast repair either. One of them given to every single driver in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series at every single race. And it looks like for right now, one of them going for pit road, Bishop going to stay out, and so Brady Cox going to be 24th. We'll see if he goes a lap down. That's Tyler Werner in the 33, also joining him down the pit lane. So 2 cars coming in this time by, and the entire field staying out, not as many laps being put here from Richmond. So just a quick rundown of our distance for tonight's race here in Virginia. We go 170 laps, 127.5 miles, 205.7 kilometers. We've had this race go longer before. We've seen this race upwards of 200 laps on distance. We are minimizing it this time around at 170, but still a good amount of endurance for the drivers in this field. We should see strategy come into play as well. An easy strategy, quick enough for Kyle Benson in the 10, immediately taking the race lead, holding no prisoners at all, and looking to take control of some clean air and Murray Reedy Motorsports on behalf of Kyle Benson and by the 96 of Austin Riddy, who's currently in P9 right now, making up only 1 spot as he started tonight's race inside the top 10. A lot of them have had a lot of blistering pace in the opening runs. They've just failed to put that final puzzle piece together to get a win for either one of them. Benson, a winner at Kansas last season in a walk-off fashion that entered him into that season's playoffs, and then Austin Riddy grabbing a couple of wins of his own last season and being a force to reckon with in the playoffs as well. We'll see exactly how they progress and what they're able to do. It's been a constant feature where they've had a lot of pace early, but they've failed to put it together. Maybe things could change, but we do know one thing: the 10 and the 96, they are very fast. They are threats on the racetrack. And Kyle Benson going to choose the outside line, row number 1, this time for the green flag. So we got a restart here, lap number 7 of 170 after a quick caution on lap number 2. Christopher Bishop and Brady Cox, the 78 and the 42, involved in that caution. But we are doubled up and ready to go back. Green flag racing, pace car makes its way down to pit road. Our first official restart is back into turn 1. Solid start of 1 and 2 for Kyle Benson in the 10. Looks like already under fire. Lawson Peel is heading for turn 3. That's the 55 of Sanchez looking to break free of the Chick-fil-A machine. The 2 fast food machine Chevrolet Camaros. 1 car into the outside wall. That is Colin Forrester. I believe Tyler Werner and a couple of others might have gone into it. Some of them slowing down. But Forrester with some damage slams the outside safer barrier. There's a look at the damage on the right front and some severe totaling damage on the 99. No caution will fly. We'll stay green. We'll find out what happened. This is entering turn 3 against the 48 of AJ Green. Not sure what might have happened. The car just immediately travels up the hill and goes into the outside wall. We'll see if we can get a better look at it. This is on board with the 99 of Forster, heading for turns 1 and 2. So very simple, very casual, just holding the inside here, just behind the number 97, rather the 71 of Curtis Kelly. And that appears to be a hardware gremlin there for the 99 of Forster. That's one thing in sim racing that you do have to take into account. Sometimes the hardware may not fall in your favor that certain day. And it looks like, unfortunately, it has struck the 99 of Forster, who goes immediately into the outside wall, keeps it out of any other trouble. Nobody else gets into him, so we'll stay green. Forster will be the first of now 3 cars put a lap down or more. Brady Cox currently holding up that lucky dog position. Also to note, Lawson Peel has dropped back to 4th. Remember, he was in that fight for 2nd with the driver of the number 55 in Joe Sanchez, who ran on board with the driver who would have gotten his 3rd race win of Season 5 at Road America 1 week ago. Unfortunately, had those mistakes near the end, but Lawson Peel looking to strike back, this time get his 3rd win of the season. There's Eric Schaefer going way loose right in front of him. The 3 car holding up the top 3, but it looks like Drinkin' Bros Racing occupying 2nd, 3rd, and 4th out of the racetrack. So not much to complain about, although Lawson Peel has dropped off in the running order a little early on. His teammates are here to support him. And Lawson Peel, a driver that obviously is a huge one to talk about, already locked into the playoffs via his 2 wins this season. One of them came at a road course at Watkins Glen. The other to initially lock him into the playoffs this season at the Michigan International Speedway. He is one of the 3 drivers over the past 3 seasons that has a win here at Richmond Raceway. We haven't seen a repeat winner at this track, surprisingly enough. In the many times that we've raced here at least once every single season since Season 2, at least back to records on simracerhub.com for the 4Wide Racing League. And the 12 of Lawson Peel, fun fact, got his first career 4-wide Racing Cup Series victory back in Season 3 at this very track, late in the goings in a green-white checkered finish where he took 2 tires on the stop, was able to beat everybody out of the lane, and then just held on to the lead in those final 2 laps. So Lawson Peel, a lot of good memories here at this Richmond Raceway, and looking to add on to those memories here as he currently maintains in P4. So Kyle Benson still in your race lead by roughly 3/10 of a second. That's Joe Sanchez slowly catching up, put up a faster time last time they crossed the stripe. That was a 22.636 for Benson, a 22.612 for the driver of the 55. So it's safe to say Joe Sanchez with a lot of speed to start. You're right on board with Kyle Benson. You look at the rear end of the car, caution flag will wave, and another caution. This time I think it's the teammate of your race leader, Austin Reedy, in trouble. And there he is, slowed on the Max straightaway. It looks like no significant damage to the Camaro. Might have just had a harmless spin, and we are under caution for the second time here from Richmond, Virginia. We'll see what happened. This is just behind Lawson Peel. This is the battle inside the top 5. This is Craig Lounslugger in the 13. And then Austin Reedy in the 96 just behind. That's Shaden Porter. And Brendan Banks right behind him. And I think rather just got the apron at the exit of turn 2. Car went sideways, goes for a little slam into the inside wall, but I don't believe that is going to be enough damage to take him out of the race or warrant a fast repair. We'll take another look at it, this time possibly from a higher shot on the racetrack. And that's one thing also to note about this Richmond Raceway in the middle of the corners. We talk about the exit of turn 2 being so treacherous in that transition of banking, but you also have to keep in mind there's an apron down there on the racetrack as well. If you try to diamond arc a little bit too far, you may end up in that apron. You get the left sides on it, the car immediately goes sideways, and then for the 96 of Austin Reedy ends up with a tap to the inside wall. He's going to drop position. He's on pit road right now getting repairs done. He's fallen to 22nd. We'll see if he drops a lap. I don't believe he will. Kyle Benson, his teammate, on the back straightaway. So as of lap 18, have our second caution of the night out of the 170 scheduled here this evening. So already a lot of drama between some of the drivers in this field. We also do know we have 2 drivers on the lap down list as we speak, 24th and 25th, Christopher Bishop and Colin Forrester, the 42 and the 99. Right now, both of them put a lap down here, and it looks like Brady Cox is going to get the free pass position, so he will be 23rd, and Austin Reedy, like we said, doesn't drop a lap, so he'll stay back in his position. Let's talk about the driver that's making his first start in tonight's race here at the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and I think his first 4-wide start ever across all the leagues in this calendar, or in this league, rather. Alex Schumacher in the number 68, but listed as the 09 on the custom number here. And a very interesting car. He likes to go by Shuey. Schumacher, his last name. He goes by Shuey. And a beautiful car here representing Shuey Media. And this 09 Ford Mustang. Alex Schumacher, a driver from the Michigan area. Glad to see Schumacher in this series. We know he knows a couple of people in this league, most notably Jaden Porter. We've seen him work with him in other leagues across the series before. We also know that Rodney Roberts, one that he's also worked with closely as well. I believe he's also raced in a series with Brady Cox, if I'm not mistaken. So nice to see that the 09 of Alex Schumacher making his first start. So hopefully we can see some more starts out of him later on in the campaign. Maybe he can make a case for the championship. Who knows? But nice to see the 09 of Schumacher already up to 13th from his starting position. So some good progress early on. Looks like him and Dominic Bettini in the 02 have kept themselves close all race long over the laps that we've had under green flag circumstances. So we got another restart at lap number 22, I believe, of 170. We should have the lights out on the iRacing official pace car once we cross the line. And already 2 quick cautions. We'll see how much of an impact Austin Reedy can make on the comeback, whether he's able to gain some positions and how that will work. We'll double them up. And again, Benson will choose the outside lane. Sanchez, who was catching him in that last run before the yellow flew, he's going to have an opportunity at the inside once they get to turn 1. We saw Benson make a beautiful pass, textbook, on Lawson Peel in the 12. Only problem with him is right now he's got a DBRC behind him in row number 1 and row number 2. The 12 and the 3 both part of the same team. And of course Sanchez, we talked about, out of that DBR camp as well. So aiming for a restart here, lap number 22 of 170, and the eyes fall on the number 10 of Kyle Benson to lead us off back to turn 1. He hops on the gas quickly, opens up the gap to Sanchez, and we're back under green from Richmond. Go single file through roughly most of the top 5 or so. You got our first 3-wide battle. How about this? Alashire, Lance Hill, and Curtis Kelly heading back for turn 1. Alashire will back out. Actually, never mind. Will stick his nose in, maintaining 3 wide back out of turn 2. Looks like Hill might win the battle. Kelly going to snap loose. So will Alashire, who drops heavily through the warning order back to turn 3. And Hill going to be able to hold out on his own. Battle already developing inside the top 4. That's Lawson Peel under fire from Jaden Porter back to turn 1. And a quick pass there from the number 28 at Jaden Porter, who's picked up a couple of wins this season, rather over his 4-wide racing stint. And already inside the top 4, looks like we may also have a tussle around your top 3. There was a little bit of closeness between Eric Schaefer and Joe Sanchez heading back for turn 3 that last time by. But both of them able to maintain single file. Looks like they're both going to try and have a general consensus, catch up to Kyle Benson, and then make the moves after. And Sanchez closing in slowly but surely on board with the 55. A lot of quickness we've seen out of Joe Sanchez this season, and many times when we bring him up, we mention the lack of a race win. We've seen the 55 lead a lot of laps, be a commanding force, yet to grab a win. And Sanchez, who has a couple of short track wins to his credit here in the 4-wide racing league, looking for another, and it sets an equalizing lap to Kyle Benson, 22.667 across first and second. So both of them putting up mirror lap times. It looks like the 55 is going to continue to close in. He'll get that draft off of the 10, and as they exit turn 4, we'll continue to eye this battle potentially for a change of hands. Watch a little bit back through your top 10. This is AJ Green, the defending winner of this race, trying to work on Brandon Banks. And the 54 back to turn 1. We mentioned that 3-wide action between the 1, the 71, and what was the 91. Alashire, the last car in that list. He has dropped since to P13 on the racetrack. You see that red and white Husky chocolate Chevrolet in the background. But AJ Green, an interesting case on his win. Last time we were here at Richmond, he was not in the case for the race win up until those final laps, and actually edged ahead of his teammate Colin Forrester right before the last caution came out on the timing loop. We exhausted all 3 of our green, white, checkered attempts that night here at Richmond. Hopefully we end this race under green this time around. But AJ Green, a very happy man, as he was going to take one of his 2 wins last season. His other came at Daytona in the regular season, or near the end of the regular season. Here's the 13 of Craig Lautenschlager. He falls short of Brandon Banks, who whips around the outside. So the 13 struggling with a little bit of that rear end grip, and we see that happen a lot, most notably out of turn 2. Lautenschlager going to play some defense. AJ Green immediately dealing the bumper early on. They both washed up the racetrack, and how about Lance Hill going to puncture his way, and here comes Green to the inside for P7. Lance Hill going to follow the 48-1 for teammates Motorsports. Lance Hill went his own way for Trackhouse Racing, and still in that dead heat battle in a turn 3 with Craig Lautenschlager stuck on that outside lane. And the 53 of Kevin D'Elia might be next for the taking. Back to turn 1. 13 going to hold out, but it looks like the 53 might end up with his nose on the inside, and he does. They almost make contact. They watch up at a turn 1, and Kelly's going to get into both of them. The 13 goes sideways. The 53 of D'Elia goes around as well, and caution flag is out for the 3rd time here from Richmond, and D'Elia dealt the worst of it. And you saw what happened as D'Elia tried to make that move under Lautenschlager in turn 1. You can tell Lautenschlager was trying to play a lot of defense. The outside, not necessarily the fastest here at Richmond. You can easily get freight trained if you're not careful. And look at D'Elia just trying to force his way on the inside. He ends up finding the space, but as he enters the corner, just got a little bit too hot. And as they both washed up the track, the 71 of Kelly got into both of them and sent them both around. And the 53, despite not getting hit by anyone else on the racetrack, still ends up with a bit of damage and obviously a lot of lost track position. Here's a look at Curtis Kelly, entrance turn 1. You just get slammed from behind. I believe that was Adam Alashire. And the 91 saw a couple of drivers also get into it as well. And I believe it also included the 89 CJ Munier. Might have also been Michael Newbraw on the back end of that. And so we will have our third caution of the race and news drivers on pit road. At least your leaders. Joe Sanchez gonna win the race off, I believe. Yes, he will. Sanchez with a 14.5-second stop gets ahead of Kyle Benson for the pit road race lead. A couple of drivers staying out first through fourth. We'll see if they end up second guessing. I believe the answer is gonna be no. But Joe Sanchez with a beautiful stop. And he will take over the net race lead. And once we go back green, I know some drivers are, of course, going to hold out position this time through. But the tire difference roughly at around, I believe, 34 laps. These drivers have not pitted all night long. Brady Cox, Daniel Michel, Brandon Gillis, and Kevin D'Elia, the 53 that was just involved in that incident at the exit of turn 2. So while we're under caution, why don't we take a moment to look at what's going to be ahead in our season schedule for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. In season number 5, we've seen a lot of unique tracks already. When we started the season at Daytona, like we usually do, we had our dual race. We also had our shootout at the Monza Oval, a track that's actually in B-Fixed this week. So if you want a little bit of that Monza Oval fix, you can go for B-Fixed on the iRacing servers this week before it goes away for, I believe, another track. I'm not sure quite which one it is. We headed to Michigan, the 2-mile track over in the Irish Hills, Nashville Super Speedway to follow after. Then came our first road course race of the season. That was the first checkered flag, rather the second checkered flag for Lawson Peel. Then came Las Vegas, a very interesting race as well, where Colin Forrester was able to grab the win as well. Road America then came last week, a amazing race from start to finish when it came to strategy and outright drama in the final half lap. Tonight we race at Richmond under the lights, and then next week we'll head for America's Heartland, Kansas Speedway, our first 1.5-mile race since the Sin City and the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We head to the Charlotte Roval for a very quick sprint through a lot of the road courses this season. Then we head for Atlanta, New Hampshire, Texas, Coda in midway through the season. Then Auto Club Gateway, Indy Road Course making its first appearance ever in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Iowa making its first appearance in a very long time. Then Dover, Darlington, and Daytona. A triple D there to round out the last 3 races of the regular season. Then we'll decide our playoff drivers to fight for the title. It all starts at Bristol. We head to Sonoma on the historic layout. Pocono then to round out the first round. Then Charlotte, Talladega, and Phoenix before we deduce the championship 5 that'll run for the title in South Florida at Homestead Miami Speedway. So a lot of excitement in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series this season. And if you love the coverage, or if you're tuning in for the first time here tonight on MaxSpeedTV, then you should be in for a lot of the more excitement we'll have and a lot of the greatness that we'll see over the course of the campaign as we try to get closer to decide a champion this year. Green flag back in the air. Pace car is down. A little bit of a sluggish start by the first couple of rows, but Brady Cox will lead us into turn 1, and the question begs, how will the fresh tire cars get around the lap cars up in front? Question is, it's rather answer not going to be too long. Joe Sanchez immediately sliding into the top 3. A little bit of shuffling inside your top 5. Benson looking to get around D'Elia, entering turn 3, and Daniel Michel with a huge send to take P1, but it may not last for long as here comes Sanchez charging for the lead. Remember, the top 4 that stayed out did not pit at all in this race, despite Brady Cox and Kevin D'Elia being involved in a pair of incidents to start this race. There's Eric Schaefer underneath Kevin D'Elia for position. He'll slot into P6 just behind Jaden Porter. And here comes Joe Sanchez charging to the rear end of Daniel Michel back to turn 1. Side-by-side battle for third. That is Kyle Benson under Brady Cox. Quick pass, almost 3 wide in the mid portion of the field, but here comes Sanchez. Down low, and away goes Michel. Joe Sanchez to the race lead. And And this easily the greatest pit stop of the race so far for Joe Sanchez. Was able to get ahead Kyle Benson, who's now trying to look at Daniel Michel for second and bringing Jaden Porter in the 28 with him. And actually Porter is going to go for the taking on his own. He'll slide into turn 3, wash up in the middle of the racetrack. It looks like he won't be able to take that spot away. But a lot of the method to the madness so far. And Joe Sanchez, that big pit stop, giving him all the clean air. And this move here by Benson obviously will work given the fresh tires on the 10, but it's just a little more work on Michel here back to turn 3, and that gives the advantage definitely to Sanchez in the 55. And as the 10 brings in the number 28 of Jaden Porter, and to bring him to the inside, and Michel, the last driver currently inside the top 5, holding out on those 43 now lap old tires out on the racetrack. So Michel doing a nice job of conserving his rubber and not falling as far back with that good start with Brady Cox back to turn 1. So Joe Sanchez in the race lead, roughly half a second back to Kyle Benson. And now it's all on Benson to try and catch back up. We saw Sanchez reel in the 10 in the first couple of runs before cautions fell. We'll see if Benson can respond this time by, as Sanchez will look to lead a couple of laps of his own. Eric Schaefer making quick work of Michel. This is for the entrance into the top 4, so Michel falls back to 5th. And now here comes AJ Green for the taking on the inside. Also nice to see one of the members of MaxSpeedTV in the chat tonight, Josh Menlock. Hope you're doing well. As AJ Green makes his move for 5th on Daniel Michel, he'll bring in his former teammate Lance Hill on the 1. Meanwhile, they're side by side inside the top 8. Remember Brady Cox, who led this race on that restart off of the caution. He's now falling back to 9th inside the top 10. He'll go sideways right in front of Austin Riddy. He'll go chasing for the grass and will slam the inside wall. And he is under the racing line, so no caution, will stay green, lap 46. And that's the last thing you want as you're just trying to survive on the old tires. Brady Cox, the leader on the last restart. This is the battle with Lawson Peel ending turns 1 and 2. Peel tries to diamond arc at the exit of the corner, and it seems to be fine until you get to the exit of turn 4, heading for that front straightaway. We haven't seen a lot of drivers get loose out of that corner. We've seen many of the troubles arise out of the second. The 78 just grabs the car loose, and then the 96 nowhere to go, just taps that rear bumper, and that's well more than enough to send the 78 sideways. He has since dropped to 24th. And Brady Cox, who was once 1 lap down in tonight's race, now maybe at the mercy of being put lap down again. As Joe Sanchez opens up the gap now, roughly 0.8 of a second back to Kyle Benson in P2. Meanwhile, battle developing inside the top 8. That's Daniel Michel still falling back on ground. That anchor pulling back on that cat marrow as Michel tried to respond back to turn 1. But Austin Reedy filling the space down low. They'll make contact entering the first corner. And Reedy gonna bully his way to P9. Looks like so far not a lot of battles on the racetrack. Maybe this might be the first inside the top 19. This is CJ Munier, Kevin D'Elia, 53 in the 89, back to turn 1. We saw D'Elia, of course, get sideways, spun around at the exit of turn 2. They bring out one of our most recent cautions, but he's going to cede that position to Munier in the 89. So D'Elia will fall back to the last spot inside the top 20. That's really most of the battles we've seen so far in this race, at least as far as this green flag run is concerned, apart from those drivers on the old tires falling back. Between all the guys on the same page when it comes down to rubber and strategy. Looks like everybody mostly single file. Actually, here comes Curtis Kelly. Look at the inside of Daniel Michel. So Michel only continues to drop back through the running order, and you have to imagine they're starting to question themselves a little bit whether that call to stay out might have been worth it. Maybe they were anticipating a caution to come out in that short run right as they were going green. Unfortunately, it has gone green since. So they've fallen on the short side of the stick, and Curtis Kelly going to breeze his way by inside the top 10 for the first time tonight, I believe, apart from that incident we saw to start this race. And caution flag will fly out again, I believe. Jaden Porter in trouble. Yes, indeed. Porter inside the top 5. As we were under that green flag run, looks like no damage to the Ally Chevrolet. But again, we are under the reign of the iRacing official pace car as the yellow waves once more. Lap 53 of 170. We'll see what happened and whether anyone was at fault, whether it was a solo car incident or maybe whether he had out at the exit of turn 4. This is in a potential battle with Eric Schaefer in the 3. And you'll watch here, Porter slides a little bit high, and Schaefer indeed just got into him, sent the 28 loose. And with these next-gen cars, the way the aerodynamics are built, it is so hard to save once you get them sideways. And with that little bit of assistance on behalf of the 3 of Eric Schaefer, just sending them upper, sending it a little bit too hard, got Porter out of shape. Here's a look on board from Porter at the exit of turn 4. Looks fine until a slight bit of contact, then slams onto the gas pedal. And then immediately locks up the brakes. A beautiful job by Porter to keep that car righted into the grass and did not get it into the outside wall. Fortunately, he will keep his car straight. He'll keep his car clean, but he will drop in track position, and we'll have a couple of drivers now head for pit road. This is everybody. Kevin D'Elia on back. This is, I believe, 21st on behind, and we do have a couple more in there as well. Bringing Daniel Micho, so rather 20th on back, coming for pit road. A lot of them, the majority, that stayed out on the last caution, now taking their first set of Goodyear Eagles. And Colin Forster grabs the wave around, so looks like he will be back on the lead lap. That puts Craig Lautenslager 1 lap down. Not sure exactly what happened to Lautenslager, whether he had any trouble. He was inside the top 15 or so, I believe. He picked up some toe link damage as we had that caution wave, so a couple of laps before the caution came out. This is Craig Lautenslager in the 13, running behind Alex Schumacher, and in between himself and the 16 of Tyler Murray. So this is under flag circumstances. This is just before Jaden Porter goes around for that spin out of the last corner. And we'll see it here. It was a bit of toe link damage, I believe, on the right front. So right there, got loose, and then bam, right into the outside safer barrier. So something we missed. That caution didn't fly as a result of the 13. So had to get that fast repair, had to get the car fixed. And as a result, drops a lap. And we'll have to hope for a caution flag to come out if he wants to get back in contention for this race. And Lautenslager and the driver, the 13. Last time we were here at Richmond, led a race high 153 laps and still could not get to victory lane inside those last green-white checkered attempts. Still ended up in the top 5, but you question just what could have been if Lautenslager was able to grab that victory. It's been a very long time since we've seen that 13 grab a checkered flag in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. One of them came at Iowa a couple of seasons back, so it definitely is a kind of a hurting scenario there for the 13 of Lautenslager. Hopefully we can see him rebound, and the good thing for him is that he is the only car 1 lap down on the racetrack. So should a caution come out, at least in the next couple of laps after the restarter, even then, unless anybody in front of him goes a lap down, Lautenslager should get the free pass position. He should be back on the lead lap. The only driver 1 lap down or more on the racetrack, apart from Lautenslager, is the 78 of Brady Cox, who we saw go for that spin at the exit of turn 4 and did not bring a yellow through with that. He is 4 laps down, 25th out on the racetrack. So a pivotal pit stop gives Joe Sanchez the race lead over Kyle Benson, and definitely pulling away. Sanchez was on the route to just dominate this half of the race, and the cautions definitely have come at the right moments for guys like Benson who are trying to catch up. We'll double them up this time by, we'll get the lights out on the iRacing official pace car, so we'll go green with 59 laps complete here from Richmond, Virginia. We'll round out the top 10 quick for you just before we get back to action. Joe Sanchez, your race leader, on the outside of row number 1. Kyle Benson on the inside in P2. AJ Green, Eric Schaefer, the 48 in the 3. 3rd and 4th when we go back to green flag action. Lawson Peele steps back into the top 5. Lance Hill will be P6, Austin Reedy in P7, Brandon Banks, Adam Alashire, and Curtis Kelly, the last 3 to round out your top 10. Ready for a restart. Pace car off and away to pit road. Quick jump by the 55 of Sanchez. We may have 3 wide before we get back to turn 1, but the green is out. Back for the corner. Schaefer going to back out, and Sanchez leads him off to the back straightaway. And a beautiful jump by Schaefer. Could have easily forced it 3 wide. Instead, thought better of it. Will slide up at the entrance of 3. Almost gets into the 48 on the left side door, but will keep himself side by side inside the top 3. Austin Reedy, Lawson Peele going at it for P5 on the racetrack right now. That's only allowing Sanchez to run away. Peele with a little bit of a checkup, and as we head for turn 3, it is an absolute hornet's nest on board with the 12. Schaefer and Green remain side by side. It's only opening their gap up to the number 10 of Kyle Benson in P2. Really going to deal the bumper to Green at the entrance of turn 1. That'll clear Schaefer for the moment. Here comes Green. Retaliation effort. Crossover into turn 3. And Schaefer going to succeed on that pass. Austin Reedy next on the chopping block. He'll try to get on the outside in turn 1. And Reedy pickpocketing his way through the field. It's been a nice progression. We've seen the 3 gets loose. They'll go 3 wide on the back straightaway. Reedy going to take 2 for 1. And Reedy inside 3rd and will try to catch his teammate for 2nd. And you can see it there in that battle with Adam Alishire. They both made contact entering turn 1. And then by then, there was nothing the 12 could do as he overcorrected the car. Here's the look on board, the rear end of the 12. And this is not going to look pretty, even for the rear of the race car. You see the contact, a little bit of the miscommunication on the brakes. And right there, the 12 goes pummeling into the safer barrier. Great avoidance by CJ Munier, Tyler Warner, and I believe that was Colin Forster in the 99. All able to get around that wreck. That does put Craig Lounslugger back on the lead lap. Remember, he was a lap down, gets the lucky dog this time through. And so some good news for him, but for Lawson Peel, that is going to be a huge blow dealt for one of the former winners here at Richmond Raceway. And there's a look at the extent of the damage, especially on that front end. And we've seen a lot of the contact happen here at these short tracks just based on that simple fact, a little bit of miscommunication, a misunderstanding on the braking zone. Entering the corner, you could have somebody who's a little more confident in their braking abilities than the driver in front of them. You'll see that contact ensue, and by then, there's nothing anyone could do except be a passenger at that point. The 12 tried his best to save it, just overcorrected, much like we saw Craig Lounslugger do at the end of turn 4. Before we had one of our most recent yellows apart from this one. And again, we are under the control of the iRacing official pace car. Joe Sanchez still in the lead of tonight's race. So caution out again here from Richmond, Virginia. We'll try and settle things out and go for the green flag. On a restart in a couple of laps time. We'll take a short break, but you won't miss a thing. We continue our coverage of race number 7 in season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Joe Sanchez in the lead so far.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drivers around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series Season 5, Race 7 for the virtual Richmond Raceway. Kenneth Leonard joining the broadcast booth here on MaxSpeedTV, and Joe Sanchez, Kyle Benson, row number 1, ready to lead us for green flag action on lap number 71 of 170. We've had a lot of cautions to break up some of one of our green flag runs that we've seen so far in this race. But still, the decisive nature is in hand for Joe Sanchez as one of the quickest cars in the race. We see Kyle Benson, if he's able to get back on the track and be able to make a case known against that 55. Back to turn 1. So Joe Sanchez quick on the gas inside the Geico restart zone. Green flag, lap number 71 of 170 inside our final 100 laps from Richmond. Benson gonna send it for turn 1, and Reedy almost did the same for P3. Some side-by-side action inside the top 6. That was Lance Hill going against Eric Schaefer, and now Brendan Banks. They may be 3 wide. That's Daniel Michel. Remember, he got fresh tires on one of our most recent cautions. He's trying to pick his way through the field on an alternate strategy. He hits the outside wall entering turn 1, and Kyle Benson still trying to do all that he can to catch up to Sanchez for the lead. Oh, Brandon Banks around, opening the outside wall, exit turn 4. That's with Curtis Kelly, another car involved. That's Dominic Bettini in the 0-2. And again, we are under the iRacing official pace car, and another troublesome part of the track arises, this time turn 4. And our first, I believe, multi-car accident. And takes out a bunch of cars, at least gives them damage. This is entering turn 1. Remember, we saw this 2-wide action 2 rows deep. That's Daniel Michel trying to get around Lance Hill. This is Curtis Kelly side by side with Jaden Porter, but it all starts with Brandon Banks getting sent by the 71. He goes up the track. He gets loose, goes up into the outside wall, gets Kelly, and then Dominic Bettini nowhere to go as he's the last driver to get caught up into it. And Brandon Banks at the mercy of all of this, I believe just got hit entering turn 3. You saw a little bit of the loose action out of turn 2. Right there, just got the shot, goes up the hill. And right there, gets into Kelly, goes hard on the wall. 71 as he travels back down, slams into Bettini. And Bettini with absolutely nowhere to go to get away from the mess. And our caution out again. We'll try to see if we can take a look from Lawson Peel. Remember, he got his fast repair on pit road that last time by after going into the outside wall. Similar way in turn 1. And look at the avoidance right there. Beautiful awareness. Hopping on the brakes. Able to swerve out of harm's way and avoid getting some more damage on his Chevrolet Camaro. Of course, we do talk about fast repairs as a viable strategy in this 4-Wide Racing Cup Series just because you do have that one opportunity to get a clean race car, but as soon as you burn that up, whether it be early in the race or late in the race, if you get any more damage on that car, you have to spend the time down pit road to get it fixed, and that could be a lot, especially here at Richmond. A very short pit delta, this track very small, and at these short tracks, you can easily go a lap down, 2 laps down, 3 laps down, depending on how long you stay on pit road. So a good avoidance there by the 12 of Lawson Peel to avoid any more trouble. Unfortunately for Bettini, for Kelly, for Bishop, for the 54, Brandon Banks, all of them having to take their fast repairs this time through. And that'll push them all the way back to 21st on back through the running order. We do also need to let you know, Brady Cox got a free pass. He is now 3 laps down on the racetrack, still at last in 25th and still trying to pick things up. These cautions have definitely helped for the moment, but it has been tough to get it back over these long green flag runs that we've had in between. This one not necessarily long at all, but still. It's been tough to get on that track position back, and even worse so for the driver of the 78, just because he got into a semi-crash, much like Craig Lautenslager did. Got into an incident, cautioned in wave. It just makes things worse. All that distance continues to grow between yourself and the leader, and then you're just begging for a yellow to come out just so you can get the damage repair. And we'll see if Cox can get all of his laps back. Fortunately, though, this is the only car that we've seen a lap down or more right now on the racetrack, so that is very good stuff to see. And if we have him on the lead lap, we'll have everybody from 1st through 25th on the running order in contention for a lead lap position, which is definitely good news. Some good news also to spread around the iRacing world happening this weekend. The Rolex 24, we call it the Daytona 24 on the iRacing sim. Going to be a lot of fun to rip around the Daytona road course. I know a lot of people on the sim very excited for that race and one of the many endurance races and special events that iRacing will hold in 2023. I know also the Daytona 500 for the NASCAR enthusiasts also going to happen in mid-February, a week before the actual running of the Daytona 500 in real life for the NASCAR Cup Series. But for right now, endurance racing on everyone's mind, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of drivers in tonight's field iRacing Cup Series have their own shot at with the LMP cars, with the brand new BMW LMDH car that was just released recently, with the GT3 cars, which are always a lot of fun to drive. So we'll talk a little bit more about that if we continue to have breaks in the action and some more yellow flags. For right now, though, ready for green flag action. Lap 78 at 170. Joe Sanchez again on the gas pedal, exit turn 4, back under green from Richmond. Beautiful restart for Austin Reedy, who now sits in a P2 and maybe could stay there if Benson does not retaliate. He doesn't. He backs out entrance of the corner. So Austin Reedy for the first time tonight inside the top 2. And Lance Hill in a fight with Eric Schaefer back to turn 1. Big stack of cars, including Colin Forrester. Remember, Forrester hit the wall early on in tonight's race, dropped to the rear of the field. He tags the wall again on the back straightaway. Caution flag is out again, and it's Adam Alshire in the 91. And I believe the steering bent on the Chevrolet Camaro. You can see that left side completely pancaked. And he may indeed have to take that faster pair. We'll watch and see exactly what might have happened entering turn 1. Oh, just lost the car all by himself. Had it sideways in the middle of the corner. And much like Brandon Banks, much like Lawson Peel, the 91 suffers on the end of overcorrection. Look on board from Alshire entering turn 1. Right there, car immediately steps out, and like we talked about with this next-gen cars, and we harped on it last season, but we'll talk about it a little bit more through this campaign. These cars are so hard to save once they get sideways and in the middle of the corner like that. The air is already pushing in the wrong direction, and for Alshire, just goes left side into the outside wall, and there he is limping his Husky Chocolate car back to pit road. And we'll see exactly what he can do on the repair efforts. He has yet to use the fast repair tonight, but I believe with the way this car is dog tracking entering the pit lane, he's going to have to take that fast repair. Craig Lounslugger also picked up some right front damage, and he's on the pit lane as well, adding on to a list of, I believe, 3 or 4 cars that are in the pit lane right now. You could also add in Christopher Bishop in the number 42. So that'll give another lead lap back to Brady Cox, who will go 2 laps down now, so needing a couple of cautions to get back on the lead lap with the rest of the field. We'll see exactly what Adam Alshire does, whether he burns off that fast repair. I believe the answer is yes, indeed it is. So another driver using their fast repair tonight early on, lap number 81. We continue to get closer to the halfway mark here tonight from the virtual Richmond Raceway. So Joe Sanchez in the 55 has been one of the quickest cars all night long, but he may be challenged by Austin Reedy, who's picked up a lot of steam over the last couple of restarts. We saw him enter the top 5 a while back, then entered the top 3, now just slid into P2 with a gorgeous restart and beat his teammate Kyle Benson to the jump once we got that green flag. So maybe we see Austin Reedy in contention. It might give Joe Sanchez his first proper challenge of the night. Ever since Sanchez took the lead, he's been unbeatable so far. We haven't seen anyone put up the stick to him, at least for right now. So Sanchez, Austin Reedy, Kyle Benson, AJ Green, Lance Hill, you can go down that list all the way down to, I believe, Colin Forrester in P7. Top 6 right now, all without a race win in Season 5. Obviously, a lot of them with race wins in their 4-wide Racing Cup careers. We've seen them run at the front so many times in many races in the past, but this season is going to be pivotal. Of course, last week with Daniel Michel, his first ever 4-wide Racing Cup Series victory broke the streak of drivers getting repeat wins. We saw in race number 4, Lawson Peel, Watkins Glen, able to get his 2nd win on the calendar year. Same deal for Colin Forrester at Las Vegas, was able to hold off the whole field. That was his 2nd win of the season as well, and now it's a question of who will join them. A win automatically locks you into the playoffs this year when it starts at Bristol. It's only a matter of time as we approach the first end of the first half of the regular season, how many different winners we'll have. And it looks like for right now, if things remain as if, top 6, if they're in contention for the race win, we will see another race winner added on to the different winners list, and that will be a total of 6 if we can have that happen. We had Lawson Peel, Colin Forster, Steven Stempien, and Daniel Micho, all with at least 1 win or more in this season. We'll double them up for a restart on lap number 85 of 170, approaching halfway. Joe Sanchez, your race leader, outside row number 1. Austin Reedy to join him in that same row, P2. AJ Green, Kyle Benson, 3rd and 4th on the racetrack. Eric Schaefer, the last one to round out your top 5. Then goes Lance Hill, Jaden Porter, Colin Forster, Kevin D'Elia, and the 25 of Daniel Michel, the top 10. Pace car is in. Do we see another early jump on the 55? Yes, we do. Sluggish restart out of Austin Reedy, and back under green, lap 85 from Richmond. And that gives AJ Green a head of steam. He may have some assistance by Eric Schaefer. Holds up the middle lane in 1 and 2. Benson, a little wiggle out of the 10 car, but he'll stay on the inside in that dead heat battle for 3rd. Over the past couple of restarts, none of the cautions have come from the top 10, but we've seen a lot of great racing. How about 3 wide entering turn 1? That's Daniel Michel on the very bottom, Lance Hill on the outside, and Forster stuck in the middle. He'll back out before they enter the back straightaway, and AJ Green still in that little battle this time. Eric Schaefer almost contact, and Benson gonna clear for 3rd. That was almost sketchy between those guys. Schaefer gonna drop back to P6 on the racetrack, back to turn 1. On board with a 10 of Benson as he tries to hold the field off, and as Austin Reedy closes in on your race leader now, 0.4 of a second in, slightly growing. We'll see what it can do. Lance Hill gets pushed up the track. He may have some more contact on behalf of the 25. They avoid that entering the final corner. And now here comes Lance Hill trying to enter for turn 1. The 99 goes head on into the door panel of the 25. And that could have almost been dangerous, but Forster going to pick up that momentum and stay alongside Michel back to turn 3. The physicality showing up as we approach halfway. These drivers getting a little more impatient as they get more comfortable with their race cars. Lance Hill goes sideways, gets set by the 25, and Hill's going to be able to save it. Will stay green. An unbelievable save by Hill. He drops back to P13, but keeps his race car intact in a battle with Tyler Warner, and that could have been disastrous entering turn 1 and could have brought us another caution. Now the caution waves, and it's a multi-car incident. Brandon Gillis and Craig Lounslogger. Second time Craig Lounslogger is involved in a crash this evening. And we'll see exactly what happened. Look at the huge stack up in turn 1. That was against Adam Alashire. That was with Brady Cox underneath. And this caution will bring Brady Cox to 1 lap down on the racetrack. So good news for him. But for the 13, I'm not sure whether he had any help. Yes, he did. And that's the 6, Michael Newbraw, getting into him. The 13 with a harmless side spin. He locks it up just before the exit of turn 4. And so it looks like Brandon Gillis not in it after all, so unfortunate for Lounslogger. Good news there for Gillis as the leaders may head for pit road. Indeed, they do. Remember last time we saw the leaders come in for service. Joe Sanchez and Austin Reedy all in 2 different positions. Kyle Benson, the loser out of that fight, as Joe Sanchez was able to edge ahead in front by a couple of inches. We'll see exactly what happens this time by. It's going to be a pivotal pit stop. Of course, we do see Joe Sanchez on the rest of the field, all of these guys on the same page, but with Daniel Micho, a couple of others on the different page, we could imagine them to stay out, but it looks like they will not. So it looks like they will come down pit road along with the entire field. And we'll see exactly how the 55 goes off the jacks. Here comes the 96 with a head of steam. 55 going to stay out front, and it'll remain calm for the top 3, at least for now. I think we may have had a change for 3rd. Never mind. Or actually, we did. Eric Schaefer going to move ahead of Kyle Benson, drops a couple of spots. Back to P11 officially on the racetrack, and AJ Green also going to take spot as well. So a 15-second run for Kyle Benson through his pit stall, and a very slow one at that. And Joe Sanchez is going to win the race off pit road. Couple of drivers to stay out. This includes Alex Schumacher and the number 68, or rather the 09 shown on screen I believe he is under 26 lap old tires, 59 for your league owner Tyler Murray. First time we talk about him all race long inside the top 3. Curtis Kelly, who's been floating around the top 10 and has been involved in 2 crashes this evening, he's now in 3rd. P4, Adam Alshire, and then Craig Lautenslager to round out your current top 5. So it's been a very hectic night here from Richmond, but we are entering the final 70 laps of tonight's race, and telemetry tells us if we go green from here on out, we should go roughly another 30 minutes before we decide a winner. And it looks like for now, no second guesses out of the drivers staying out of the front. So again, it's another challenge for Joe Sanchez and everybody on fresh Goodyear Eagles to get around the competition. We saw how easy it was for Sanchez that first time through. We may end up in a situation where it could get hairy. We've seen a lot of tire difference prove to be a very big factor in a lot of these races. Las Vegas, one of them under strategy. And we saw how big the speed difference was, and we're going to see that in the rest of our schedule when we get to those tracks that are a little more abrasive, Iowa being one of them. We're also going to see Dover in one of them. Homestead of Miami is our season finale. Also a track that you can really tell the difference in tire management and in tire difference. It looks like tonight here at Richmond, obviously no different. We'll see Sanchez be way faster than the drivers up front, but it's mostly about placement. And Sanchez has fortunately been very smart about that. We'll try and double them up and get a restart just before we get to our lap 100 mark here in virtual Virginia. So I believe we do have the lights out on the iRacing official pace car. Indeed we do. So Alex Schumacher leading his first pair of laps in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, at least as far as his career is concerned. He will be the man in control when we get the green flag by Barney the Flagman. Tyler Murray, the seasoned veteran and league owner, on the outside of row number 1. Curtis Kelly, Adam Alshire 3rd and 4th. And then Joe Sanchez rounding out your top 5, the first driver on fresh rubber. It's been a beautiful night here from Richmond. A lot of fireworks in the air on the racetrack. And maybe we'll see some more with the tire difference, the drivers up at the front, and Joe Sanchez, and then everybody else behind as we get ready for the green flag. Pace car is down for pit road. Lap number 96 underway, 95 complete. And the 09 of Alex Schumacher up and away. Even start with Tyler Murray back to turn 1. And Murray with an absolute send in the first 2 corners took the lead for a brisk moment, but it immediately gets swiped away. Schumacher maintains the lead, and here comes Kelly for the inside in 2nd. A patient start for Joe Sanchez, there in the background on the outside of Craig Lautenslager for turn 1. He'll try to get around the 91 of Adam Alshire. The 96 of Reedy goes into the outside wall, overcorrects, and the caution is out again. Lawson Peel involved in it as well. A little more contact on the aftermath. But Austin Reedy suffers the same fate as many tonight in this race. And I think Eric Schaefer also might have gotten a piece of it in the 3. We saw him on the backside of the shot. Right behind the 55 is Sanchez. Again, both of these drivers on fresh tires and cold tires. A very big factor with these next-gen cars. It was such a problem in Las Vegas. Looks like it's been a problem tonight. Schaefer just got loose on his own accord on the braking zone, and Lawson Peel just gets caught up with it at the last second. Here's a look at Reedy entering the first corner. You see him immediately get loose. Those tire tracks on the rear end of the car spark up. And then Reedy tried to save it, couldn't do it. He's just along for the ride. Here's a look at the 12 of Peel, who was a couple of cars behind the initial incident. He heads for turn 1. He sees the action right in front of him. Just can't do anything to get around from him. He gets a bit of the rear end damage as a result. And once again, our green flag run interrupted by a caution flag and many more entering the pit lane. That's Eric Schaefer, Lawson Peel. I see Kevin D'Elia, or rather Daniel Michel. That's Christopher Bishop in there as well. That bright green, number 42. And then there's Austin Reedy, who I believe picked off the faster pair, so he's going to be 23rd on the racetrack as we speak, and we are under caution again as we cross the line for lap number 100. Caution out once more here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Rookie Alex Schumacher in the lead inside our final 70 laps. We'll have more coverage on the other side of the break, but don't worry, you won't miss a thing. We'll continue it right here on MaxSpeedTV.
Racing
You wanted the best, you got him for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back green, lap number 103 here from Richmond. Kenneth Bunna with you atop the broadcast booth right here on MaxSpeedTV. And just like our last restart, the 09 of Alex Schumacher ahead of the field. Adam Alashire, though, in trouble. He gets way loose at the entrance of turn 2. The back straightaway, he's going to be able to keep it straight. Will stay green. And Schumacher going to go hold out. Remember, Joe Sanchez, the first driver on fresh tires after we had our most recent caution with Austin Reedy in the 96. And so far, Schumacher, the rookie driver, still maintaining his lead. Murray getting a little bit loose, and now here comes the Hornet's Nest inside the top 5. But look at how patient you have to be on the throttle. How about 3 wide and 3 wide again? Back to turn 1. Murray still struggling with the rear end of his Chevy Camaro. And one of the many already on his tiptoes on those old tires, and now it may go for the drivers first and second. There's Joe Sanchez on the outside in turn 3. He'll look for the crossover. Sanchez may look for position. Entering turn 1, he won't, and he'll stay back. Kelly already forcing his way to the rear end of the 09 for the lead. An outstanding battle inside your top 5. There's Craig Launslugger, who has finally made his way back up to the field. Remember, we saw him sideways just a couple of laps back and in trouble. Now within grasp of the top positions in this field, still side by side with AJ Green. Gridlocked, and Jaden Porter, Colin Forrester to give us support, and they're side by side as well. And now loose goes AJ Green. Here comes Porter, middle, 3 wide. Launslugger escapes the trouble, and Green gonna hold on to the inside. Porter sticking in the middle, and Forrester powering on the outside for P6. And caution flag out again. It's Tyler Murray involved. And lap 108 will be under the yellow. As he was struggling on those old tires, he was inside the top 5 and had some help by CJ Munier. This is right after turn 4. You see the 89 diving deep on the brakes and just slid a little bit too high on the track. Might have got this as well. Chasing for the apron on the racetrack. And just a slight half spin brings us under yellow. And Tyler Murray going to be in trouble. He's going to drop track position, but fortunately escapes any significant damage. we'll see also if he takes a trip down to pit road. I believe Lawson Peel also did so roughly 8 laps ago. He is the first driver 1 lap down, and we do unfortunately have news of our first DNF here from Richmond. It's the 0-2 of Dominic Bettini. He is now 25th, 9 laps down and counting. He is out of tonight's race. So Alex Schumacher going to head for pit road this time by. Decided it was finally enough on the tires that he was dealing with. And so the Ford Mustang, the rookie driver, going to go for the pit lane. Curtis Kelly now going to be the only one on old tires to stay out, apart from, I believe, Craig Launslager. But Kelly has the oldest tires in the field at 36, 29 and counting for the driver of the 13 in Launslager. Everybody else roughly on 18 or so lap old tires. So it's roughly a big difference, but with these cautions coming out, it definitely has mitigated a lot of the threats by all the fresh tire cars in the back. And we talk about this philosophy as well. When you're on fresh tires, most of the time, what benefits you is a long green flag run, or at least successive green flag laps. If you continue to have cautions like this fly over and over and over again, that advantage that you do have on rubber suddenly goes away little by little. And then by the time you continue to get yellow after yellow, and you continue in this stop and go motion, that tire advantage is going to be rather non-existent. And guys like Curtis Kelly, despite being on older tires, if he can manage his rubbers enough and keep them under his race car, he can be able to hold on to the race lead, if not set faster laps than the drivers who pitted later than he did. So it's been a big topic of conversation. We've also seen it happen before, and even if you end up in a green, white, checkered circumstance, those 2 laps can be pivotal if you're on fresh tires. But if you keep getting yellows, it's only going to make matters worse for you. And so for Sanchez, we've seen that advantage go from outrageous to completely diminished, and it looked like it has worked a little bit, but for Sanchez, it has sort of fizzled out for a moment, so those opportunities slowly fading away. Although Joe Sanchez, Kyle Benson, 2 of the fastest cars we've seen all race long from Richmond, so we probably have no doubt, even without a tire difference and the advantage for them, that they will be able to get around Curtis Kelly. Those 2 have been insanely quick, so we'll see what happens, but Kelly holding on to the race lead for now. So under a caution once again, but if you do like what you're watching here tonight on MaxSpeedTV, then you'll love what we're going to have for you 1 week from tonight. On January 25th, we'll go green flag racing from America's Heartland, our second official intermediate race of the calendar. And at Kansas, that'll go green at 9:10 p.m. Eastern. Of course, you can find that right here on the MaxSpeedTV YouTube channel. Should be myself, Kenneth Bueno, and Francisco Bacalao along with you for the ride. It'll be a lot of fun to see how that race pans out, especially with the way that Las Vegas went, with Colin Forster getting that very clutch win. Tire strategy mattering in the biggest of ways. And so that'll be another opportunity at a different winner, and we're looking at one right now inside our final 57 laps here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Curtis Kelly in control of the race lead when we go back to green. Joe Sanchez outside row 1, P2. It'll be Kyle Benson third, Craig Launslager in P4, and Colin Forster to round out your top 5. We've seen a lot of teammates shift throughout this field, most notably Drinking Bros Racing. They had a chokehold on the top 5. They don't anymore. One of their cars in the top 5 now. That's that bright red 55 you're seeing on screen in row number 1. The Hot Wheels car, Curtis Kelly, back on the gas, up to the gears, and through the green flag, lap number 114. And a bit of contact around your top 5. Colin Forster trying to weave his way by Craig Launslager for P4 on the racetrack. Meanwhile, Kyle Benson has found his nose underneath the 55 as Sanchez for P2. Gonna try to dive it for turn 1. Sanchez is gonna try and arc it into the corner. That's gonna help for now. It mitigates the threat posed by the 10. They remain side by side inside your top 5. Colin Forster trying to hold off Launslager, and then the entire field behind them. Hill getting checked up by D'Elia and AJ Green. And a lot of the drama ensuing here. How about Jaden Porter forcing his way on the high side of Launslager? This is an attempted pass for 5th. They've singled out inside the top 4. And AJ Green, Lance Hill, all of them just still trying to find their footing as the 3 of Schaefer goes way up the racetrack. We saw him pit not that long ago. Lance Hill going to stay single file and still side by side for the entrance into the top 5. On the 13, goes sideways, gets a bit of the contact off of the 28. He'll grab the apron. He'll save the race car. A beautiful save by Craig Lounslugger. We will stay green. That'll plummet him through the running order. And now here comes Joe Sanchez for the point. We saw him under fire from Kyle Benson. Was able to hold that threat off. Now looking on the second lane. First time we may see this pass happen all race long. But Sanchez is going to hold his ground. D'Elia into the outside wall at the exit of turn 2. Around he goes. Austin Riddy gets a bit of the contact. And just as Sanchez was attempting the pass, caution out again. Grab the apron from the left side of the car right here. Car went sideways. Looks like many drivers in this field, including that 96 of Reedy, who unfortunately gets a piece of that. Just overcorrections have been the problem. Last week at Road America, it was a lot of the mistakes, and getting into the grass tonight, it's been overcorrect city. We've seen so many cautions come off of cars getting loose and then just overcorrecting either into the field or into the outside wall. So Kevin D'Elia, unfortunate for him. One of the fastest drivers in practice in our session before we dropped the green here in Virginia. He's going to grab some 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, going to be on his way. And D'Elia, who had already burned off his fast repair early on, I think escapes with minimal damage, so he will be fine. And it looks like we will stay okay for the moment. So here's a look at Curtis Kelly in the number 71, and these cautions definitely help. Remember the last point I talked about of tire mitigation, at least in terms of advantage. It seems to be happening right now, and just as Joe Sanchez was going to make that move, Kelly got saved by the grace of that caution. He's going to be able to hold on to the lead for a little longer. And Kelly, like many others, looking for his first 4-Wide Racing Cup Series victory. It's been a very long time. We haven't seen this 71 in victory lane, but we've seen a lot of momentum build and a lot of rebounds as well. Remember Las Vegas a couple of weeks back at the intermediate, got into a very big crash with Tyler Warner at the exit of turn 2, had some toe link damage, had to get the fast repair so early on in the race, got it back, and then through all the chaos in the last segment of the race was able to bounce back for a great finish. And Curtis Kelly, despite being in a lot of troubles this season, has been able to find his way back to the front. A lot of the resilience being shown by Kelly, right now leading these laps, definitely smiling year to year, knowing he's being out at the front, and these cautions are definitely helping his case on that alternate strategy on tires. Although we're going to wonder how long will that barrier last before Joe Sanchez comes knocking in the door, or rather breaking through the door, to be able to take back the race lead and control the pace inside the final 50 laps. Joe Sanchez is going to be outside of row number 1 in this restart. Colin Forster has slipped into 3rd. Jaden Porter right now in a P4. AJ Green rounding out your top 5. Then goes Lance Hill in the 1 for Trackhouse Racing. Eric Schaefer for Drinkin' Bros Racing in P7. Brady Cox up to P8 despite being multiple laps down earlier on in tonight's event. Daniel Michel and Alex Schumacher, the last 2 to round out your top 10. Green flag back in the air, a beautiful jump by Curtis Kelly back to turn 1, and could we see Colin Forster take control of 2nd out of turn 2? And just because the leader has been having such a great advantage coming off of turn 4 in that restart zone, it has enabled the driver in 3rd to go to the inside, but of course 55 is able to hold that off, but before the caution comes out again. We'll see exactly who might have been involved in this incident. It looks like it was Kevin D'Elia once again. So I believe the 2nd straight caution we've seen D'Elia involved, and under cold tires, this gets the car loose, and the 54 of Brandon Banks able to avoid that. Everybody else able to get around as well without any problems. So the 53 in trouble all by his lonesome. This is just grabbing up the gears, high revs, cold tires, and it definitely hurts. It's sliding in turn one the wrong way, right there. There's nothing D'Elia can do at that point, just accepting the fact that this car is going to go around. And keeps it out of both walls on the inside and the outside. D'Elia going to drop to dead last in the running order on the lead lap. So again, under caution with roughly 17 minutes left on the telemetry. If we would stay green for the rest of this race, we are already well within our final 45 laps of tonight's race from Richmond. And it's been somewhat of a caution fest. We've seen some good green flag racing in between. It's just a lot of single car incidents this evening have forced us under the yellow. And that's why we're seeing so many breaks in the action. And so Kelly going to hold on to the lead once more, and Sanchez, who continues to try and break free of Kelly's grasp in P1, has ultimately come to a fail every single time, just because he hasn't had enough laps to get around this 71, at least for the moment. So one of our drivers inside the top 10, this is P8 Daniel Micho, riding with the Catmero tonight. The Los Angeles, California native had a fantastic weekend last week at the Road America track, the America's National Park of Speed, and it wasn't necessarily the absolute race for Michel to start. We saw the green flag drop with former winner Lance Hill at Road America, and then the 96 of Austin Reedy heading for turn one. Little chaos between them two later on in the race. We'll cover that in just a couple of moments. Then came the mistakes immediately showing at lap 2. Starts with Murray Reedy Motorsports' Tristan Bailey, a driver who's unfortunately not here tonight from Richmond, but got caught up in some trouble and some tolling damage and went for a second hit into the inside wall on the Sargento Cheese Bridge straight. Then the 71, Curtis Kelly, who's in the lead right now, got into trouble with the driver who just got in trouble for our most recent caution, Kevin D'Elia. They both got into contact at the exit of the kink. You see the 53 again going hard into the wall after the first bit of contact. Here's a look on board from D'Elia. There was nowhere he could go. And then Austin Reedy had control of the race, and we talked about strategy just before we got to the halfway mark and our caution at lap number 18. This is some more drama under the first half green flag action. Lance Hill, the pole sitter, dropped back through the field, went for a spin in the grass at the exit of the carousel, and then here came the strategy just before the halfway caution. There was Joe Sanchez, Lawson Peel, and leader at the time, Austin Reedy, to come in. Daniel Micho elected to stay out another lap. He came into pit road shortly after. Green flag came out on the front straightaway. We're back under green, though, from Richmond as Kelly leads it back into turn one. And Reedy was able to hold control, but then came the strategy for tires and for fuel. Some drivers did take tires on their stops. Many did not. Many just took fuel only. And then that was the matter of the conversation all race long. There's a look at the 96 inside the final stretch of laps coming in for service. That gave the lead to Lawson Peel, who would then pit later and then would just take control of the race until the last lap dramatics. And before, right after this happened with Austin Reedy in the 96, got into the grass off the carousel, chasing for the kink. And the driver who was fastest all night long in trouble and hitting both sides of the wall. But then came the final last half lap. The 12 of Lawson Peel entering turn 5, going downhill, got into a spin, going down through the gears. Daniel Micho was riding in second at the time of this spin. It looked like Peel was going to be able to hold on to the lead. And then came that next corner uphill under the Corvette Bridge. The 12 in trouble, then went way wide off of the corner, and Daniel Micho able to take away his first ever 4-Wide Racing Cup Series victory. So we've remained under green here from Richmond off of the recent restart. Inside 40 laps to go, and there is Joe Sanchez. Could he finally make the move, or will the caution break the cycle once again? Sanchez trying to cross over there roughly 3 wide at the exit of turn 2. Couple of cars in trouble, and into the outside wall. Alex Shoemaker involved, and I believe a couple of others in there as well. There's Adam Alshire, Christopher Bishop, and maybe Lance Hill. Gotta correct myself, that's Alex Schumacher in the 09. And this is turn 1, Adam Alshire sending it way deep on the brake, slides into Schumacher, and I think instead of the 1, actually, no, it was the 1 hitting the outside wall. It just got tagged by Schumacher at the last second. And then as they're going down the track, Craig Lownslugger gets a piece of it. He goes for the inside wall. Adam Alshire goes around, like we said, here right on board the 13. There's nowhere he could go. He tried to force his way through it. And Alshire then picks up the 42 of Christopher Bishop. They go for the outside wall. And And a caution is out once more, but this time with a brand new leader. Curtis Kelly has finally broken the seal. He is heading for pit road inside 37 laps to go. And so the 71 going to give up the race lead, and the 55 of Sanchez finally gets the place he had been looking for at least the last 40 or so laps on the racetrack. He'll be joined by Colin Forrester and Jaden Porter, 99 and the 28 inside the podium. So Joe Sanchez looking to get his first win since April 6, 2022. That was race number 9 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in last season's affair of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. He was able to control the last half of that race and led a majority of the laps, I believe. Was able to lead a lot of them on his way to that win. Led 42 laps, most out of anybody. The second driver in that list, I believe, might have been Scott Healy and AJ Green. They were close on that group as well. But Joe Sanchez looking to lock himself back into the playoffs, and we've seen Drinkin' Bros Racing be such a big factor of the playoffs and the championship, most notably last season with guys like Brandon Banks, of course, Lawson Peel in the number 12, who would be the eventual champion, Eric Schaefer, who locked his way in, and then we had Craig Launslager and AJ Green, both of them not on the Drinkin' Bros Racing team. But if there was one thing to behold, it was that DBR definitely showed up in last season's edition of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and they have been around not to play around this time by. Lawson Peel with his 2 wins. Eric Schaefer, as fast as he's been, he hasn't been able to get a win. Austin Reedy, he was not for Drinkin' Bros Racing, but he was a driver that also was very quick in that season. Then you look at drivers like Lawson Peel. Joe Sanchez here as well. I believe I repeated myself twice. So Peel with 2 wins. We had Sanchez still looking for his first. Eric Schaefer in that group as well. Brandon Banks looking to get into another consecutive Championship 5 appearance. And so we'll be doubling up here for a restart, and it'll be a first win for Joe Sanchez if he can get it done inside these final laps. And the 35 of them, if we can stay green, you'll have Colin Forster to the inside in row number 1. Pace car is down, lap 136 underway from Richmond. Joe Sanchez in and out of the restart zone and back under green. And already 3 wide, potentially for second. That was Jaden Porter with a huge restart, backed out before they got to the first corner. They're side by side for second. And how about a DVR 1-2 as Schaefer takes away P2. Now Forrester under fire from Jaden Porter. They're side by side inside the top 5. Brady Cox looking to get back into this race after being dead last in 25th. Multiple laps down. A huge rebound for the 78 of Cox. They'll work for the back straightaway. 2 rows deep. And it looks like Porter might end up getting that spot after all. He slides in a third. And Joe Sanchez looking to pull away. There's AJ Green inside on Brady Cox. They remain side by side, a lot of them keeping equal, and the pinching working for the 78. He wobbles out of the second corner. That'll bring in Kyle Benson. He tries to make it 3 wide on the very outside lane. He'll lose out on that battle. The 55 of Sanchez continues to pull away in P1. Benson strikes the outside wall, and here comes Lawson Peel and Austin Reedy grabbing loose into turn 1. And that could have been huge for either of them. We've seen many of the field get loose out of the second corner or even into turn 1 and overcorrect into the outside wall. The 96 and the 12 have been victims of that circumstance. Benson again slaps the safer barrier on the front straightaway rather, and inside we go to the final 30 laps, and Sanchez ahead by half a second. Top 4 breaking away by roughly a second or so. Back to the drivers, 5th on back. They are still side by side. It looks like Brady Cox might have officially cleared AJ Green. But AJ Green going to fight back on the inside. Benson trying to find a place to go for turn 3. You watch the 2 Murray Reedy Motorsports cars in that group, the 10 and the 96. 2 drivers who were inside the top 3 earlier in this race. And just looking to find their footing back to turn 1. Daniel Michel under fire from Reedy still. And how about Curtis Kelly on the fresh tires inside the top 10? Car round in the outside wall. That's Kevin D'Elia. And again, under the caution, I believe the 4th time this 53 has been involved in a crash. Alex Schumacher also in contact. There he is sideways with a bit of front end damage. And with 27 laps to go, we have ourselves another opportunity at a restart. As we'll watch what happened. I believe D'Elia might have gotten tagged as he was exiting the corner. This is entering turn 1. There's Alex Schumacher, that white and blue Ford Mustang in the background. D'Elia overshoots turn 1. Oh, and just gets loose in that transition again. A very dangerous one from 14 to 2. And D'Elia once again gets a piece of the contact. And then Schumacher just getting a part of the second bit as he got loose and got sideways. Kept it out of the outside wall. Beautiful job of doing that. But as he comes down the track, gets into the 42 of Christopher Bishop. And that sends him hard into the outside wall. And so Schumacher among those heading for pit road. So that looks to be everybody. Brandon Banks on back. So that is 16th on back. Heading for pit road. And they'll go for some fresh Goodyear Eagles. And maybe even some fast repairs on the way as well. That could be a very pivotal pit stop as well, because we talk about Curtis Kelly, who has now stepped into the top 10. He's P10 currently on the racetrack. He pitted 11 laps ago on that last caution. And now we're seeing Brandon Banks and a good heap of the field come down for pit road. That does bring the question, can they move up through the field in enough time? They do have at least roughly 25 laps or so left in this race to make work go. So they could make up those spots. They could have a very good points-paying position, maybe even in contention for the race win. We'll see how that goes. Tire strategy has been a very big part of the conversation in terms of finishes here at Richmond. You think about the green-white checkered heroics of Lawson Pio to get his first career 4-wide Racing Cup Series victory on a 2-tire call. You look at AJ Green, the strategies him and Colin Forster played to be out front in the final green-white checkered attempts. And for AJ Green to make a clutch move at a turn 2 before the caution came out, nosed ahead for that checkered flag. Could it be in factor once more here in Virginia? And could it steal away a win from Joe Sanchez's hands, or will it bring the inevitable win to the 55 Cookout Machine? And what will be his first this season, and to lock himself into the playoffs for the year. So lights are out on the iRacing official pace car. We'll go green with 24 laps remaining here from Richmond. Joe Sanchez and Eric Schaefer now completing a DBR front row lockout for the first time in a while. Then Colin Forster, Jaden Porter, they've been very fast after the second half of this race has commenced. They'll be in row number 2. AJ Green rounds out your top 5. Brady Cox in P6. Kyle Benson P7. Austin Reedy and Lawson Peel 8th and 9th. And then Curtis Kelly, the driver we talked about just a little bit ago, the final one in your top 10. We'll see if he makes any more progress out on the racetrack. Green flag to wave. Lap number 147 inside the final 24 laps from Richmond. Joe Sanchez up and away, and by a couple of car lengths back to turn 1. We've seen countless restarts. The midfield be so competitive. Forster gets loose and smacks the outside wall. That clears the 3 of Schaefer for second for good. And now here comes Jaden Porter to make it a challenge for third as AJ Green goes against Brady Cox for position inside the top 5. And contact between the 48 and the 78. Benson then grabs the apron. He goes around at the exit of turn 2. Then goes Peel. Then goes Hill. And then goes another. But the caution won't wave and will stay green. Now the caution finally comes out as Peel parks it in the middle of the back straightaway. Started with Kyle Benson getting loose and caught the apron in 1 and 2. We saw it happen earlier in the race. And he was able to save it, but it wasn't the same case for everybody behind. You look at the 10 go up the track. He is able to save it. The 12 does not. The 1 does not either. And both of them escaped damage. I think the 12 just got a little bit of that inside wall, but it isn't enough to take him out of this race or warrant a fast repair, even though he's already used it. And And so both of them around, and I think right about here is the 12 backs up on the track. Same deal for the 1. And they both create that caution. That is Michael Newbraw. We can confirm the 3rd car in that incident in the number 6 machine. And so there he is, that monster Chevrolet heading for pit road, much like Lawson Peel is right now, and bringing in also Tyler Warner in the 33. And so we are again under the yellow flag with 20 laps remaining. And we continue to play the waiting game. Sanchez in this stop-and-go motion, it definitely has affected the rhythm in this event. But for Sanchez, he's been clearing away the fastest car in this field, and the other threat that has been around him the entire race, Kyle Benson, he has dropped back through the field. He currently rides in P21 right now. I believe he also went for pit road. Indeed he did. He joined Michael Newbraw, Tyler Warner, and Lawson Peel as those to come in for pit road service. So again, Joe Sanchez looking to become the 6th different winner for Wide Racing Cup Series this season, joining Lawson Peel, Colin Forrester, Steven Stepien, and Daniel Micho. I'd rather he'd be the 5th. I believe I had that wrong on my win tally there. I went through 1, 3, 4, 5 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. But he would be the 5th driver to go to victory lane, driving the number 55. And he will complete our streak of 4 straight races at Richmond with 4 different winners. First time we were here in season number 2. We don't have records, unfortunately, to season 1, but from our records on simracerhub.com, our last 3 races have featured 3 different winners here at the short track in Virginia. Our first winner, Dalton Tucker, in season 2. Then season 3, Kane the Call by Lawson Peel. Season 4, we talked about the green-white checkered events that led to AJ Green's W there. And now Joe Sanchez with an opportunity to extend that streak to 4 different winners. AJ Green was sitting back in 5th, the only one who could defend his crown and go for a 2nd win at Richmond and break that cycle. We'll see if it happens inside the final 18 laps or so. Joe Sanchez picking the outside here in row number 1. Fortunately, has his teammate on the inside of that very same grouping. Eric Schaefer in the number 3, also looking for a win of his own in this campaign. Pace car is down, 18 remain. Here from Richmond, early jump by Sanchez, back under green. Jaden Porter immediately challenging for 2nd. The whole field doubles out at the exit of turn 2. Couple of cars go sideways. One of them, Daniel Michel. He'll wobble the car. He'll strike the inside wall. The whole field escapes calamity, at least for now. And Michel plummets to the running order, P16. We've seen that happen to so many drivers this evening as Joe Sanchez holds on to the race lead and Porter trying his hardest to break free of the 3 car. Here comes the 99, Colin Forrester in the background of all of this, that blue and white Comscope Chevrolet. And Porter pinching to all of his might to keep Schaefer down low as Joe Sanchez opens it up to half a second inside. 16 laps to go. And you can only imagine the mindset off the 3 of Schaefer. He wants to keep himself in P2. He wants to keep a DBR 1-2 intact, but he's going to get bullied out of the way. Here comes Brady Cox and Colin Forrester to fight for P4. And so Jaden Porter slides in his 2nd for the first time all race long, but the problem is he's 7/10 of a second behind your race leader. And Joe Sanchez, a huge crash at the exit of turn 2. That was one car up into the air. And I think it might have been Tyler Murray, and caution out again. We saw one car on his lid, and it was the 16 of Murray, who got loose entering turn 1, tried to save the car, and overcorrects just like many have done tonight. Gets slammed by the 13, then brings in the 89, and then the one of Lance Hill. And just the problem with balancing the car, the weight shifting, entering the corner. When you hop onto the brakes, this car immediately takes a toss. You can easily get the car sideways. That's immediately what happened to Murray, and spent the whole corner trying to save it. And it just ripped out from under him. So Murray gonna head for pit road after he goes with all 4 wheels off the ground. And Murray, fortunately for him, has not used the fast repair, but it looks like he may tick it off here. I believe there may be some significant suspension damage, most notably on the right front. As he comes into a stall, you can see the rear end lifting off the ground, and yes, indeed, ticks off the fast repair. Lance Hill going to join him on the pit lane. So one of the biggest crashes all night long, I think our most hellacious out of all of them. Now, we've seen many harmless spins, many tidbits of contact, many overcorrection to the outside wall. This one being the most recent, but I think the most violent after that second hit by Craig Lautenschlager, who has had this race go from decent to start to poor at this stage of the race, as he has dropped back to P23 on the racetrack, and he has also joined the likes of Lance Hill and Tyler Murray on pit road. I believe CJ Munier, also another car in Austin Reedy in the 96 to follow suit. There's a look at his car as he tries to pick up with the rest of the field. But the good news here lies within that 28 of Jaden Porter, who will look for his second career 4-wide racing Cup Series win. And it brings him that much closer to your race leader. The problem that we've seen has been calculating restarts. It's been a problem for inside or outside of row number 1. When you're in P2, you head into that restart zone. The leader just has that much of an advantage. They can go whenever they please inside that Geico restart zone. So it's allowed that 28 to try and react, and everybody else who's been in P2, but it's been so tough to officially calculate it. I think we've only seen one official even restart here from Richmond tonight, and then all of them others have been lopsided and given the advantage to your race leader. And it's also given an advantage to the driver sitting in P3. That could be Eric Schaefer. It could be Colin Forrester. We will double them up, have the lights out on the iRacing official pace car. We'll try and see if we can finish these final 10 laps under green here from Richmond Raceway and these final 7.5 miles. Sanchez outside row 1 again. His teammate Eric Schaefer on the inside of row number 2. Jaden Porter trying to play the reaction game. Pace car is down. 55 is off and away in the Geico restart zone. We're back under green with 10 laps to go. And a better start for Jaden Porter. He's able to hold off a challenge from Colin Forrester. Schaefer falls back. They're roughly 3 wide inside the top 10. That's Kevin D'Elia. And caution comes out once more. And it's Austin Reedy in trouble. I believe we'll correct it. I don't believe it is Austin Reedy that got caught up in this mess. We'll try and see. This is 3 wide entering turn 1 right there. It's Daniel Michel and Tony Kimmett. 76 and 25. And the 76 goes around after getting sideways after that first bit of contact 3 wide. It's just so hard to find space. The 76 grabs the apron with the rear end of the car, and obviously there is no saving that Chevrolet. It's been a rough one here from Richmond. Tony Kimmett's going to bring it to the inside wall and to the entrance of pit lane. We'll have a restart with single-digit laps remaining. I think we may have 6 or 5 laps left in this race when we go back to green, so easily within green, white, checkered territory if we get another caution. And obviously these restarts are definitely good for Joe Sanchez, who hasn't faltered on a single one. But Jaden Porter, masterclass job to avoid the pressure from Colin Forrester, who had a great restart on the outside of the second row. And so it looks like we will be under the pace car's grasp once more. It's been the case all night long, a very consistent factor. So we'll see what happens, but Sanchez has been the man to beat, and nobody else has been able to find a way around them, whether that be under green or under the restart conditions, as they pace around. And we'll try to get the lights out on the iRacing official pace car with 6 laps to go, which should signal a 5-lap to go restart. So while within this range of the race, we do have to let you know the rules of what will be 4-wide racing overtime and green-white checkered attempts. We have 3 attempts to end this race under green. What we would do under these circumstances is if we have a caution inside 3 laps to go, we will go green with 2 laps to go with the entire field doubled up as normal on a typical restart. We'll try to finish the race under green. If a caution comes out before the leader gets the white flag, we'll do it again until we get that 3rd attempt over with. If the leader does get to the white flag, we don't have a caution from the green flag on the restart to the capture of the white flag, we will race it all the way back to the line no matter what happens. And in the case, like we saw with AJ Green last season, if we exhaust all 3 attempts that are green, white, checkered, the leader at the timing of the last caution on the 3rd attempt will be considered the winner here from Richmond Raceway. Hopefully we don't end up in that situation, but with the way the cautions have flown, it definitely is in the cards and on the minds of many drivers in this field. Joe Sanchez, your race leader, gonna try and capture the field. A little bit of a wobble. Back to turn 1. We'll try and break free of the competition with Jaden Porter on the inside. Green flag back in the air with 5 laps to go. And this time Porter not able to fend off the challenge for second. Here comes Eric Schaefer. Multiple rows even further through then. Here comes Forster to the inside, looking 3 wide on the 28 and almost makes contact as Sanchez will wrap it. Forster looking underneath Brady Cox, who's trying to complete a miraculous comeback after being more than 3 laps down in tonight's race. He's stuck on the outside. They work the back straight away. DBR still 1-2. They're almost 3 wide back there inside the top 10. But Joe Sanchez looking to run away from the field. He'll grab the final 3 laps from Richmond. And now here comes Forster. A lot of pace beneath that 99. He'll look to Jaden Porter for 3rd. They're roughly 3 wide. Forster gets loose at the exit of turn 2, and he has to back out. Sideways goes Brady Cox, entrance turn 3, and he'll save it. A huge save. He'll stack up the whole field. Now contact with Kevin DeLeo. They'll both go around on the front straightaway. Caution is out. An attempt at an overtime restart number 1 will be upcoming. So close to saving the car multiple times. A wheelman effort by Brady Cox, but unfortunately got sent around. Here's a look at the first bit of contact in the fight with AJ Green. And this gets sent, I believe, by Schumacher there. And look at the beautiful save he makes in turn 3 and then continues to have the car sideways. And then right there, Kevin DeLeo just gets into him. Daniel Michel, Christopher Bishop get a bit of contact. There's Tony Kivitt at the last end of it. Look at it right here. Beautiful save to start. He goes up the hill. The 78 saves it. He maintains top 6 position until right about here. Kevin DeLeo nowhere to go. He was roughly 3 wide. And then there's Michel. There's Bishop. And then Kevin DeLeo going around. And same deal for the 76 of Tony Kivitt. Looks like that'll plummet the 78 all the way back to P16 in what was a great effort to move up through the field after being multiple laps down to start and after struggling. And remember, we saw him go sideways on the front straightaway in the grass. That caution never came out and got dropped those couple of laps, got them all back with the yellows that we were given. And unfortunately, it may end with a drive outside of the top 15 or even outside of the top 10 with the 2 laps that we'll have remaining, and this will be officially the first attempt at overtime in a green-white checkered finish. And we've seen a lot of the quickness out of Jaden Porter and Colin Forster, the 28 and the 99. We've seen them be very quick, and they were going side by side for position number 3 at the time of caution, and they were letting Eric Schaefer and Joe Sanchez run away, and Sanchez and Schaefer, both of them looking to complete a DBR 1-2. Can't do it a 1-2-3. They would need another driver in this mix, and right now they don't really have another one near the range unless they all get into contact by that final lap. But nonetheless, this would be a DBR domination on behalf of Joe Sanchez, and much like New Hampshire one season prior, it'll be another short track win added to the list of Sanchez's career and his first this season, and what's felt like a long time coming. Daytona immediately on fire out of the gate, led a bunch of laps at the super speedway, could not get the win. You know how chaotic those races are. He's led a bunch of laps at many different tracks this season. I think he's led laps at every single track we've visited so far on the calendar, if not almost all of them. And yet that 55, still without that checkered flag in hand. Tonight could be the difference maker. But he's got Eric Schaefer, he's got Jaden Porter, he's got Colin Forster in the mix as well. And as dominant as we've seen Sanchez be all night long, we do have to acknowledge anything can happen at Richmond. Anything can go down in these green-white checkered restarts. So you have to stay on your toes if you're Eric Schaefer, Porter, Forster, or even anybody deep within the top 5 or the top 10. You cannot call this race over until it's officially over. Many times we've seen here at this track and at other tracks across the schedule, last lap passes, last lap contact, leaders go around, the third place car is that waiting in the back, and they're able to grab the win and steal it away from everybody else. So possibilities are endless. And the lights are out on the iRacing official pace car, so this will be our first attempt at a green-white checkered. And we'll try to get to the white flag under green in these final 2 laps. So roll through the top 10 before we get this restart. Joe Sanchez, your race leader. Eric Schaefer, P2. Colin Forster to round out your podium. Then goes Jaden Porter. AJ Green to your top 5. Then goes Kyle Benson, P6. P7 for Curtis Kelly. P8 for Lawson Peel. Alex Schumacher in his debut, P9. And then Austin Reedy to round out your top 10. First attempt of 3 at a green-white checkered from Richmond Raceway. Pace car is down. Sanchez will have control like he's been in control the past couple of times. Inside the Geico restart zone. The 55 up and away, and he counts down with a 3. Even restart back to turn 1. Well, that's the most even we've seen the top 2 in a restart in a very long time. Forster side by side with Jaden Porter. AJ Green in a fight with Kyle Benson for the top 5. This time through 3 and 4, Sanchez will grab the white flag from Richmond. This race is official. We will go all the way to the checkered flag. Joe Sanchez has been trying all season long to grab his first win of the calendar year. He's struggled many times, has been out of contention, but this time he finally breaks the curse. Out of turn 4, Joe Sanchez grabs his first win of season 5 and wins from Richmond. An outstanding win for Joe Sanchez, one of the most dominating drivers all race long. And you have to give him credit for surviving restart after restart. And it looked like that last one may have been a change of pace with Eric Schaefer being right alongside him as they were going up through the gears. And then backed out before they got to turn 1. And Sanchez holds out and wins from Richmond as he will celebrate his first win since April 2022. And an amazing win for the 55. The cookout machine can finally call himself victorious. And Sanchez becomes the 3rd DBR driver to get to victory lane this season. He joins his teammates Daniel Michel and Lawson Peel as the other 2. And he will park it perfectly inside the Richmond Raceway logo. He grabs his first checkered flag of the season. We'll take a look at your full field results before we get to driver interviews. Joe Sanchez, your race winner by 0.2 of a second in the final 2 laps. Only took us 1 attempt at a green-white checkered to end this race. Eric Schaefer makes it a DBR 1-2 at the end of it all. Colin Forster in that fight with Jaden Porter. He wins it by just a couple thousandths of a second. He wraps up your top 3. Jaden Porter to finish in P4. Kyle Benson up and down race all night long, but he is still able to end tonight with a top 5. AJ Green, your defending winner from Richmond, didn't show a lot of outright pace, but still rather quick. He ends up P6. Austin Reedy got into a huge crash into the outside wall a while back, although he's able to capitalize with a 7th place finish. Rookie Alex Schumacher in his first ever start brings his Ford Mustang home in P8. Brandon Banks to finish inside the top 9, and Curtis Kelly will round out your top 10. Lance Hill will be 11th. Michael Newbraw will follow suit in P12. Brady Cox, who tried to pick it up after being involved in one of our last cautions in this race, is 13th. CJ Munier is 14th. Kevin D'Elia in the 53 got wrapped up in many incidents tonight, although he's going to be the last one inside your top 15. P16 will go to Tyler Warner in the 33, 17th to Craig Lauenslager, then Brandon Gillis, Lawson Peel, and Tyler Murray to round out your top 20. Then here are the final drivers in our field, starting with Daniel Michel, 6 laps down in 21st, 22nd to Christopher Bishop, 7 laps down, 9 laps down for Tony Kibbett, 45 laps down for Adam Alashire, 24th, and Dominic Bettini, the first official DNF in this race from Richmond, rounds out the full 25 car field. So why don't we step into victory lane and talk with a driver who was dominant all race long and did not let up whatsoever. The driver of the number 55 and your winner here from the virtual Richmond Raceway, and for the first time this season, Joe Sanchez in his Chevrolet Camaro. In victory lane is Joe Sanchez. And Joe, what an unbelievable race you put together. 99 laps led out of the 176. A dominating performance. But what went behind the absolute success to keep your composure through all those yellows and keep your foot on the rest of the field after restart after restart?
The restarts were definitely not very fun to deal with every couple laps. I wish we could have gotten some longer green flag runs, but I just knew track position was going to be king here. It was really, really, really difficult to pass. So just wanted to stay out front, and I knew once I believe I pit on lap 91, I was like, I'm not pitting again after this, just to keep that track position. So just being able to time the restarts and controlling the field is really what kept me out front.
You had a couple of threats throughout tonight's race. I know Kyle Benson, one of them. Austin Riddy, also hot on your tail. We saw Eric Schaefer, your teammate there, with you in those past couple of laps. And, of course, that final attempt at a green-white checker. For you, did you feel any of the pressure behind you, or were you confident enough in your ability to control the restarts and with your outright pace that you were just able to hold out in front and keep the race lead?
I knew if I was the leader, I can kind of maintain them behind me. When I was starting in a pack, they were definitely quicker on the initial starts and the restarts. But once about 5 to 8 laps came in, that's when my car really started to handle really well. I drove a lot better on older tires, and I think that was really the deciding factor of staying out there so long in the end. But I've finished second here, it feels like 5 or 6 times in either 4 wide or other league races, and so it's really cool to finally win here at Richmond.
First win here at Richmond, first win of the season to get you in the playoffs, most importantly, and you become the 5th different winner in Season 5 as of 7 races in. But I want to talk about the ups and downs throughout this campaign so far that's led up to this point. Again, Daytona, I reference, is a very big race for you where you led a lot of laps, one of the quickest cars all night long, didn't go for you at the end. And many races through this season, we continue to count you in as a threat week in, week out. How good does it feel to finally get that weight off your shoulders and to finally get that checkered flag to get you into the playoffs?
It feels good to finally win one this season. I feel like we've definitely been able to win a couple of them, and some of them haven't gone our way, but it's nice to not getting into the playoffs, knock that out early on, and then just focus on maybe some strategy that will allow me to pick up a couple more playoff points.
Definitely a good sign to be locked into the playoffs this early into the regular season, Joe. But before we let you go here on this win from Richmond Raceway, anybody you want to thank in particular for tonight's finish?
Thank you for putting on a fantastic broadcast each and every week. Thank all the admins and Tyler Murray especially for putting this on each week as well, and then all the DBR guys. They make racing each week pretty fun. And then our team sponsor, Paul's Setup Shop.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words, Joe, and on behalf of all of us at MaxSpeedTV, congratulations on the win from Richmond. Welcome to the playoffs, and we'll see you in 1 week time at Kansas. Go celebrate it.
Thanks.
So that is Joe Sanchez in the 55. 99 laps led. He is your race winner at the end of it all and when the dust settles. We'll talk to the driver who ends up just behind him on the same team. That is the 3 of Eric Schaefer, a little close to the race win, but still P2, a great effort at the end despite having a little bit of up and downs throughout this race. Eric, I know that you, along with many others, had to deal with the up and down nature of hopping on the gas for a restart and then slowing down for a caution. What was it like to maintain that pace and to somewhat keep your rhythm intact throughout all of it?
Well, it was attrition, man. You know, it's just it feels like, you know how the guys talk about it and the officials all the time about eye pacing. It was a lot of guys trying to go for every spot that they could get. Everybody was bunched together there for a while and everything else. It's just everybody trying to, in my opinion, just drive over their heads and cause too many cautions. But yeah, it is what it is. It was a good race all over.
And talk about those final restarts there at the end. Of course, this green-white checkered one to end, but even before that, you're within grasp of your teammate for the win, Joe Sanchez. Did you have any plan in particular to try to get around him, and what was the mindset behind the wheel as you were in second?
No, the whole time when I got up behind him, I just told him, I said, look, man, I'm just gonna ride. I know Joe's been trying to get a win here for a while, so I honestly I couldn't touch him, man. He was just so fast here tonight. I just couldn't do nothing with him. But no, it was cool to see him finally get a win. He's been finishing second here like 5 or 6 different times, so I was happy to just finish second to him tonight.
Nonetheless, despite not getting the win, a big finish here, P2 at Richmond. So now moving into Kansas, and as we roll deeper into the middle of the regular season, what are your thoughts about Kansas, and what is your mindset moving forward as well?
Kansas is kind of a toss up for me, man. Sometimes I'm decent there, sometimes I'm really bad. Um, I'm looking forward to later on in the year, especially towards Darlington, like I had that win last year. But I'm I'm really looking forward to the revised schedule that we got going on now. There's a lot more lot more tracks that I like and I'm better at. But yeah, it was it's gonna be fun at Kansas, man. I hope it's a lot of green flag racing.
Well, certainly a lot of fun tonight from Richmond. You end up with P2 at the end of it all. But before we let you go, Eric, anybody in specific you want to thank for the P2 run?
Yeah, Kenneth, appreciate you, man, for all that you do for us and everything else. I really do. Can't say enough how much we appreciate you. Thanks to Tyler and all the admin groups and what they do for this four wide league. Like, it's one of the few leagues out here that actually gets broadcasted, and it's a free league, and we really appreciate everything Tyler does for us. And huge shout out to the DVR guys. Like Joe said, it's really fun. They make all the racing on iRacing fun, man. We're like a little small family. We argue with each other, but at the end of the night, we love each other and tell each other good night and shit like that. So, but yeah, it's a good time with them guys. And then shout out to Reaper Speed Labs and Paul Setup Shop, man.
Well, first of all, Eric, of course, it means a lot on behalf of myself. I know Francisco could feel the same. All of us at MaxSpeedTV, very happy to have your support, and it's awesome covering this four-wide Racing Cup series throughout all the seasons that we've been able to do so. Eric, on behalf of our team, congratulations on the P2 from Richmond. We'll see you at Kansas 1 week from tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Kenneth. I appreciate it, buddy.
So that's Eric Schaefer in the number 3 car, bringing his Chevrolet for P2 at the end of 176 grueling laps from Richmond. It's our time to talk with the driver who finishes inside the top 3. That is the 99 of Colin Forrester, who had to work in the final laps and even before that green-white checkered attempt for this position. Colin, you picked up a lot of pace early on, and you were able to rebound from hitting the outside wall early on in this race. But did it feel a little nerve-wracking having to battle lap after lap for that P3 position? Because it felt like you and Jaden were even so many times in this race.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty rough. Honestly, it just looks like the restarts. I mean, whoever got the outside, because Joe was picking the outside every time, so he could get a better restart up there and then pinch the bottom off. So I think that was just really the key. Whoever got the outside on the last restart, and we were just able to battle out and got pretty close there. But I was managed to scrape the P3 away and keep up with the consistency. And obviously, start of the race didn't go well. My wheel decided to recalibrate twice. But we fought back from it, and we got P3.
Got a huge P3, and I know that tonight from Richmond wasn't necessarily the cleanest by any stretch, and the Beans didn't have a lot of green flag runs. How are you, though, behind the wheel, able to get around that? Because it feels like it kind of ruptured some of the rhythm for many behind the wheel. For you, was that the case, or were you able to hold on to it throughout the event?
I mean, honestly, I feel like everyone was just even because, I mean, Richmond's honestly been a track position race the last few times we've been here. It just comes down to these cautions. But, I mean, it's hard to build any, I guess, repetition here because, I mean, we don't really have a lot of green flag runs in this race, especially. But honestly, it's definitely a repetition track. But, I mean, it's hard to get repetition if you don't have a lot of laps. But just manage to stay calm, stay cool, just remember the lines, and just stay patient. That's the biggest thing at this track. Stay patient, or definitely the rear tires will spin on you.
Couple of good finishes inside the past couple of weeks. Tonight, P3, P6 at Road America, the win at Las Vegas a couple of weeks back. So with all this momentum that you've been able to build, also locked into the playoffs, what does it look like for Kansas next week?
Last time we ran Kansas in these cars, it wasn't very good, but hopefully we get something better this time. I feel like I've gotten a lot better in these cars as since that last Kansas race, and just really looking forward to it and seeing if I can do any better than last time.
Of course, nonetheless, good podium here tonight from Richmond Raceway in Virginia. Before we let you go, Colin, on the podium finish, anybody you'd like to thank in particular?
Just shout out to everyone at Stonks. Had a decent race. Shout out to Tyler for having me. This wasn't our cleanest race, but I'm sure it'll be a lot better next week at Kansas. Mile and a half, more of our thing. And just shout out to everyone for having me, and thank you to doing the broadcast, and look forward to next week.
We certainly appreciate the time, Colin. Thank you so much for talking with us here on MaxSpeedTV. Congratulations on the P3. We'll see you at Kansas.
Thank you, sir.
So that is Colin Forrester in the number 99, who ends up inside your top 3 at the end of our 176 lap feature here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. A lot more to talk about throughout the coverage of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series, including the revised schedule. We don't have it up right now, unfortunately, but we do have a couple of changes in our running all the way to Homestead, Miami in the middle of July. We do have, instead of the Indianapolis road course, we'll swap that for the oval and the actual proper Brickyard. So that'll happen same day, though, on April 5th, 2023. So you'll see that in a couple of months' time. Instead of, actually, we will have Gateway still on the schedule. Dover will be later on the calendar. So a little bit of revisions in this calendar, but for the most part, a lot of it remaining the same, and a lot of the more exciting tracks remaining on the schedule. We're going to have a lot of great racing to cover for you over the rest of the season. But for tonight, another new race winner in the form of Joe Sanchez in the 55. Victorious finally after many attempts in season number 5, and for everybody involved at the 4 Wide Racing League, for Tyler Murray and everybody involved in the admin team and race council, from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, for Francisco Bacalhau, and for myself in the booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Saying so long from Richmond, Virginia. Congratulations to Joe Sanchez on his first win of the year. We'll see you at America's Heartland in 1 week time.